guys! Today we are checking out Parisian Brasserie Simulator, an early access restaurant management game where you run your own Parisian bistro. You can create your own menu, order supplies, serve customers, hire staff, expand the restaurant, all while trying to turn a small brasserie into a proper Parisian institution. It also has scope for up to 8 players, and I played solo. While I was playing, the game was updated to version 0.9, which added a dog that you can pet. So clearly, this is an important update. When I first opened the game, I was a bit overwhelmed. There were a lot of tutorial windows, a lot of menus, and a lot of things I was apparently supposed to understand immediately. But once I got through the first steps, everything started making much more sense. Visually, I actually like the game quite a lot. The art style has slightly plastic, doll-like look to it, but in a charming way. The restaurant itself can look really nice once it starts filling with customers, food, staff, and decorations. The UI is a little on the large side, but it's easy to read, and most of the management options are kept inside the computer menu instead of constantly covering your screen. That made the game much easier to follow than I expected. The beginning of the game is where you really learn what running a restaurant means. Before I had enough stuff, I was doing absolutely everything myself. First, I had to buy ingredients through the computer. Then a truck arrived with the delivery. You can unpack it yourself or buy extra for someone else to unpack the boxes and carry everything to the shelves for you. After that, I had to prepare the bread. Making baguettes sounds simple, but there are actually quite a few steps. You need the ingredients first, then you click to mix the dough. Once the dough is ready, you take a tray, choose which type of bread you want to make, place it in the oven, wait for it to bake, take it out, and finally move the finished bread onto the plates so it's ready to serve. And that is only the bread. When customers arrive, you have to show them a table. Once they sit down, their order appears above their heads. That is easy enough with one person, but when a group of 4 arrives at once, it can become a little harder to see who wants what. You can either bring their food that you already prepared, or walk up to the table, highlight it, press tab and open the order menu. Then you choose what they want, the kitchen prepares it, and you pick it from the serving window on the tray. Of course, customers also want drinks. So while the kitchen is preparing their food, they are usually running back to the bar and pouring drinks for everyone. Then, after they finish eating, they walk over to the bar to pay. You have to click on them first, then click on the cash register. And once they leave, you still have to collect their dirty plates, take them to the sink and wash every single one in another little minigame by moving a sponge over each plate. At the start, I was baking bread, serving food, pouring drinks, taking payments, cleaning tables, and washing dishes, all at the same time. The game does not really let you take your time either. Depending on the difficulty settings, customers have a limited amount of time to receive their orders, so you need to keep moving. Sometimes it was genuinely difficult to keep up with everything happening around the restaurant. The first worker you get is a chef, because the game does not let you cook by yourself. After that, you slowly start unlocking more stuff through the skill tree. I really like the skill tree. It has tiers, and you need to complete the previous tier before unlocking the next one. It's divided into different categories like food, workers, and restaurant upgrades, but there is no strict order what you need to buy inside those categories. So you can choose whether you want to focus on new dishes, better stuff, or expanding the restaurant first. Once you unlock a worker type, you can hire them through the France job tab. You pay to hire them, then they appear at the bottom of the screen where you can assign the role. For example, a bartender can focus on drinks, payments, or both. You mostly leave everyone on their default settings because they can handle multiple tasks at once. The only thing you cannot do is change their profession later. My first extra employee was a waiter, and that immediately saved me from running across the restaurant every few seconds. Then I hired a receptionist, cleaners, and eventually bartenders. For a while, I was still handling the bar myself, but once I had bartenders too, the restaurant started running almost completely on its own. That is where the management loop really becomes satisfying. At the beginning, you are doing every job yourself. Later, you are mostly watching your restaurant work, ordering more ingredients when needed, and deciding what to expand next. The staff usually do their jobs well. The only time they really struggle is when you have too many tables for one person to manage. Once I had enough employees, I barely needed to step in anymore. The restaurant could basically pay itself while I focused on upgrades. And there are quite a few upgrades to work toward. You can unlock new dishes, different types of tables, more floors, a terrace, rooftop, and even extra attractions like a DJ. You earn experience from completed orders, even if your workers complete them instead of you. There are some missions that help a lot in the early game. Some are normal, like serving a certain number of dishes. Others are a little less normal, like beating people up outside or petting your dog for several days. These missions give you experience and money, which is useful because at the beginning you never seem to have enough cash for everything you want to buy. The progression does require a little farming, especially early on, but I did not mind it too much because the basic gameplay loop stayed enjoyable. You can also freely arrange furniture inside the building area. Those are walls, doors, bars, decorations, tablets, and more. The customization is fine overall, but the best feature is definitely the color picker. You select a paintbrush, choose the item you want to change, and then you get a full color wheel with the sliders for things like saturation. You can also copy the settings from one object and pass them on to another. As someone who loves purple, I obviously made almost everything purple. The only annoying part is that colors do not always match properly. I could choose the exact same color for two different furniture pieces and they would still look noticeably different because of the materials. It is not a huge issue, but it becomes very obvious when you are trying to make a matching restaurant. Now, the game has a really nice foundation, but there are some things that need attention. The biggest issue for me is optimization. The game uses lumen for global illumination, and while it can make the lighting look nicer, it absolutely destroys the frame rate. With the lighting options enabled, my FPS could drop below 20, even from the beginning of the game. To make the game move smoothly, I ended up turning off NPC shadows, player shadows, environment shadows, and contact shadows, so basically every shadow. This is pretty big compromise in the game where atmosphere and presentation are important. Optimization should be the first priority for future updates. The tutorial could also be clearer. It does not throw too many windows at you at once, but some instructions are much more complicated than they needed to be. For example, the tutorial for making dog was a long explanation with many sentences, even through the actual action was just clicking one button. I spent time looking for ingredients and wondering whether I needed to carry them somewhere when the game could have simply said what to click. The NPC variety could use some work too. There is basically one female and male model with different skin colors, clothing, hair, and color variations. It works, but after a while it becomes very noticeable. More hairstyles, clothing options, and especially more eye variety would make their sound feel much more alive. The workers have a similar problem. For example, the bartenders mostly just have different hair colors. More visual variety would help feel like actual different people instead of copies doing different jobs. Some animations are also a little stiff. They are functional and nothing feels completely broken, but they could use another polish pass. The audio mix needs attention as well. Some sounds are much louder than others. The track, for example, was extremely loud compared to the rest of the game. And finally, closing time. At 10 PM, the restaurant closes. But then you have to wait for every customer to slowly stand up and leave. Sometimes that can take several minutes. You cannot just move on to the next day, so you are left standing there watching for people to finally decide that the restaurant is closed. It's a small issue, but because it happens every day, it becomes frustrating very quickly. Overall, I enjoyed Parisian Brasserie Simulator. The management loop is satisfying, the automation feels rewarding, the interface is easy to understand once you get past the tutorial, and the restaurant can become genuinely fun to build and customize. I would recommend it to people who already enjoy restaurant management games and do not mind some early access rough edges. But if you are not in a hurry, waiting for a few more updates would probably do a better choice. The game already has regular updates, and I can definitely see myself coming back after the optimization improves and the router parts get more polish. It has a solid base. Now it just needs the performance to catch up with the rest of it. Thanks for watching! I was Nami. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like me, you can watch my streams. I'm streaming every Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes Friday on my Twitch. Everything in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!